Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network and Woman of Inspiration. And this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who are leading by example, changing the world, and blazing a trail, ignoring the naysayers, and inspiring others to dream big. So today I have an incredibly great guest that I've been so excited to have on our podcast. Dr. Carolyn Casey is the founder of the Valuable 500. And let me tell you, I was so excited for weeks coming to this point, Carolyn, because the moment that we met, I wish that conversation was recorded.
Yeah, same. It was great.
It was authentic. It was real. It was, I think I said that to you. I'm like, oh my God, I wish we recorded that because it was so stuff that people I think would be really curious to listen to. So if we can recreate any part of that magic that happened between two people that really connect and, have that same mindset for fearlessly changing the world, but have gone through shit, to get there and to inspire all of our listeners today, that would be my absolute goal.
Okay.
So,
well, I come as I am. Actually, as I come as I am today, off the back of a 42-hour live broadcast, no makeup. These aren't my pajamas, but I'm still sitting in my pajamas. And in Ireland, it's like 6:30 in the evening. So you're getting me authentic. There's nothing else going on. Like generally I have bangs. I'm just like, here I am. So you got me real here today.
Well, I love having you real here today. For those that are listening, of course, they don't see your beautiful smile. You look like you've got a glow on, and it's like the afterglow about all of this great work that you've been doing. Let's talk a little bit about that before we dive into your story and how you got to this point. But of course, yesterday was International Day for Persons with Disabilities, and you were the keynote speaker at how many events over the past day?
Well, we the Valuable 500 and myself, I think it was 22 events in sort of 48 hours, combining, presentations and panels at the UN. We've been at some of our Valuable 500 companies, the ERG groups. We were part of Purple Light Up, lots of media. I mean, the International Day of People with Disabilities, it's a day to celebrate disability inclusion, but we got to make it happen every day, and we got to live it every day. And that's exactly the work that we do in the Valuable 500. And, so it was, listen, I wouldn't have gone to bed every chance and every opportunity to make this movement have greater momentum. I mean, I got plenty of time for sleeping at the weekend. So it's been fantastic. Actually, I was on a panel with a lot of Canadians yesterday. Yeah, so I was like, I kind of feel like I've been around Canada quite a bit last week. I was like, God, I'll be talking to Monica at the end. It's sort of, it feels like I've heard, because you Canadians have a particular way of using your vowels, which I love. Out. How do you say out?
Out.
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 About.
That's
it. I love it.
It's so different. I don't see it, being a Canadian, I don't see it. I still say that I wear my runners, not my sneakers.
We say runners in Ireland.
You say runners as well?
Yeah, we say runners. Do you say sweater or jumper? We say jumpers when we mean sweaters.
We say sweaters.
Okay, so we say jumpers, yeah.
So
and not trucks. So there you go. I just love it.
Well, I love your accent as well. So I love listening to you speak, number one, because you've got so much knowledge to share, and a beautiful accent as well. So, and I have to say that I completely get where you are right now. You've worked so hard to bring this message to such an international stage, and you're one person igniting such a massive movement. So I want to talk about that, because I know that I was like blown away listening to your story. So let's start there, and then we'll go into the work that you're doing with the Valuable 500 and why you're speaking on like 20 stages in one day and all the way around the world, and one of the most sought after thought leaders right now in this time to make change for everyone. So 17 years old, what happened at 17 for you, Caroline?
So I like to say now that my life is like a pocket of fireflies. full of these defining moments, moments of surprise, of pain, of joy, of success. And I have so many of them, as we all do. And 17 was one of those fireflies. So on my 17th birthday, my dad gave me a driving lesson because he knew my passion for freedom. I yearn for freedom more than anything I know. I yearn for it in everything I do. And oddly, it's, I thought everybody did, you know. I didn't know that I was any different. And the way that kind of manifested itself at 17 was these career dreams to be a biker chick and a cowgirl and Mowgli from the Jungle Book and to race cars. And oh my God, in my 17-year-old mind, I was like a badass rebel chick, which I think I still am. And so my dad gave me this driving lesson because, you know, I think he loved my expansive thinking. He and my mom had really, you know, I had a tough and unconventional childhood. But right at its core, I think that I always wanted to break out and break free. And so when he gave me that driving lesson, I mean, that was my first step to racing cars and motorbikes. But it was actually on my 17th birthday that I discovered that I was and had been since birth registered blind.
Like, drop the microphone on that one. How, and everybody's like scratching their head going, so how did you make it through where somebody actually has to tell you, by the way, you're tapping on the shoulder, you're legally blind? Like, how did you get through life up until 17 without that knowledge?
Well, you see, nobody gave me a label. So I'm very passionate about, you know, I use this thing, labels are for jam jars. I saw it actually on a poster. I mean, oh gosh, I don't know, a 1960s poster years ago. And I used it in a TED talk. And then I see Smirnoff putting it in an ad campaign, you know, and it just shows that it resonates, this concept. And my parents did not tell me about my vision impairment. They found out themselves when I was 6 months old. My father loved Johnny Cash, the song A Boy Named Sue. And the sort of the subtext of that song is that the world is really hard and it's not fair. And my dad and my mom really wanted me to be strong, and they didn't want to baby me. And so they felt by giving me a label that would excuse me out of my expectations, that wasn't acceptable to them. And so they didn't give me the label. I didn't know. So what I didn't know how to excuse myself for. And so I had glasses like loads of kids, you know, and there's loads of little kids in school with glasses, and I went to a mainstream school, but I had no idea that every other child with glasses still could see a blackboard. Can I just say that just shows how old I am? I'm 49. I mean, I couldn't see a blackboard. I couldn't see a tennis ball, a hockey ball, and all that kind of stuff. I bumped into things. I couldn't see people's faces. I mean, I can see about maximum between 1.5 feet ahead of me, and everything else is like blur, as if you were to put like a cream over glasses. And how did I cope? I was resourceful, because actually human beings are resourceful. And my story does sound very odd. It's not. There's loads of children who don't get diagnosed with dyslexia or dyspraxia or ADD or ADHD, or similarly to me, actually, visually impaired or have hearing impairments, and they just don't know. And you know what they do? They just get on with it, you know, and they find a way. And I did. And I just found ways to do things just because I had to, because nobody was giving me an opt-out clause, right? I just had to get on with it.
So let me ask you something. And I think that like your strength, and I love the word grit for you, like you're a biker rebel. I mean, I see you need to come to Calgary, by the way, and wear some of those cowboy boots here, because this is, you know, the Rockies, and saying open invitation. You will come here and we will wear our cowboy boots together, and we'll we'll get on a Harley. Let's just do it.
Oh my God,
But I
yes.
see the grit. I see the grit and determination. And I always think that those that are the chosen ones to have the beautiful gift in adversity work so hard, but they achieve so much more. There's this
Wow.
passion, and when you're going through it, it may not seem like it, but your drive, how your work ethic, your mindset for overcoming challenges, it's almost like a reflex muscle where if you're not tested as many times, it takes, do you know what I mean? It's like that elastic, it's quicker back, the more practice that you have. Is that,
I mean, I cannot
does
deny
that make
that.
sense of that?
No, I mean, does it make sense? Look, yeah, people have I mean, there is a perception, I think, of me, um, that is curated around, a TED talk and the work I've done. And, I think there's just, and it's really a very thin layer. It's a caricature that's very simple in some ways. The layers of me, like anybody else, the person that is here with 49 years old under the belt is, oh my gosh, I have such amount of layers and practice of that muscle that you spoke to. I don't speak publicly about the things that truly stretch that muscle of resilience. I don't need to. It's not that I'm ashamed of them, because I am not. But they are the oxygen that has me here. I've had to overcome so many times that I don't even know what, but I've really touched deep pain and words of trauma, and all those big words, abuse and trauma. They've touched my life very deeply and very personally, and they have, honest to God, lit the fire in my heart. And for a long time in my life, I was working despite things, to overcome, to prove differently, to survive, and you do get in the practice of that and the strategies that you use for that. I mean, listen, I'm here because of them. But now as I am here, those strategies are different, because I'm not fighting against anything so much anymore, and I am not surviving anymore. I truly am thriving, and that's a gorgeous place to be in. But that just came with time.
So how long did it take for that feeling to settle in, would you say? I mean, you're on the 49, between 17 and 49, like how many of those years were thriving, and how many of those when you started to thrive? Because I talk about this with a lot of women too. It's just like there's a rebuild, there's a transformation period, and it's not instant by any stretch. It's years and years.
Well, I would say, when I talked about those fireflies, I've probably had several big transition points in my life. I would say there's blocks. There's blocks of my life. There's these defining moments which, then shape the next phase. And I go into that time, and, and then you navigate through that time, and then another big moment, and you go through that time and another big moment, and that's life. So to answer your question, this transition that I am just coming through right now, and I think you can hear it in my voice, and you referred to the glow on my face. And by the way, with albinism, my skin ages 50% quicker than most other people. So, I'm always very conscious of my very pale, wrinkly skin. But I think the reason you're seeing a glow is because I feel like I'm truly stepping into, my power. Finally. Now, it wasn't that I wasn't in power before, I was, but this is much more integrated. I've lived through more. I'm genuinely more compassionate to myself. And I think that transition began after the death of my father. And oh my God, I annihilated myself in grief. I annihilated myself. It was, as I said, I haven't exactly had a Pollyanna life, but jeekers, the death of him just took me out. But I did not fall to the grief. Instead, I fought so hard and I delivered the valuable 500. It was through the grief and the channeling of that anger, and that's where anger can be good, and the fire and the pain, that valuable 500 was born, and the grit of that, and look what's happened, and you can see it. But actually, I will tell you, there has been the most extraordinary defining moment, most recent defining moment in my life, which was at 1847 on the 19th of January this year. And that moment will truly be one of, I'm getting emotional, will truly be one of the most memorable moments in my life, because I was moments away from getting in a taxi to go to the airport, to go to the World Economic Forum, Davos, to update on the valuable 500. And I had this really strange sense of calm. I can't even explain it. It was so calm. And I had worked so hard. And I'd literally had a mini breakdown for the months prior to that. I was working so hard. And this calmness came over me. And this, I could really honestly say it was like a voice in my head. It just went, but remember, this is not who you are. This is what you do. And what that voice was saying to me is, the work that you do is the work. You're just valuable enough the way you are. And I find it extraordinary that I had to create a movement and a campaign called Valuable to understand my own worth. And when I learned that, that moment happened, from that moment on, I am changed. And my body is processing it. I am processing it. But it happened. Like, it's, oh, whew, here I am. I know now that I always thought I would be free when I was lovable. And I always only thought that I would be lovable when I would do good stuff. I didn't know that I was enough and lovable just on my own. But I know that now.
I honestly am I feel like I was in that taxi with you, because those moments of where you test yourself and you run so hard, furiously hard, where you don't even know, like, you're past the point of exhaustion, but you're like so excited about what your work is doing that you just keep going. I get it. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, final moment, big moment coming up, big moment, Davos. Well, that's a pretty big moment, right? And to finally sit down and collect yourself, going, you know what, I'm just going to release it to the universe. I've done my work here. I'm going to go and do the best that I can do, but that doesn't define me. That's powerful stuff.
Yeah, but it was fiercely fought for, and I think, in the movies, they like to give you these moments, right? And it's this moment, and then the credits roll, and you're like, no, hold on a minute. Can I just fill in the gaps? There was a whole load of shit from A to Z to get me there. Yeah. And also, it doesn't stop at that moment. It didn't stop at 1847. It just went, it was like doing the biggest exhale. It was like, whew, it was like taking the greatest emotional laxative I know. You're like, oh, okay, here we go. And since that moment, it's like, I'm getting it. I've been absorbing it. I'm integrating it into my system. Look, the gremlins come up again, the insecurities, the jealousies, the comparisons, the ego. Of course it comes up, but now it's different. You're going, and you check yourself quick. You self-correct quicker. But it didn't happen easy. It really came from work, making the same mistakes, Monica. I just got to tell you, at 28 years old, I broke free. I came out of the disability closet. I went across India on an elephant. I claimed that, the story about free to be yourself. And then I just kept trapping myself in these cages of success, of expectation, of marriage, of whatever. And every few years I would just, I'm free, I'm not, I'm free, I'm not, I'm free, I'm not. And the underlying narrative had always been, I am not enough. I am not good enough. I'm too big. I need to be smaller. I mean, these records going around my head. Whereas now I'm like, here I am. Here I am.
Well, I love, and I hope that you'll be okay to share it. I love this story, and like literally Davos this year was one of the last largest big public gatherings of the year. And, you know, the story that you shared with me was just, I got goosebumps listening to it, because when you're in line and you're in purpose with what you're doing, you're willing to be as ballsy, held to the wall, no fear, and total confidence in what your message is. So I'd love for you to share like what happened in
Well, look,
January.
so the Valuable 500, you know, I think it's an extraordinary achievement for all of us. But there's no doubt it was a burning passion inside me that had been dreamed of many times for many years, and I had attempted it. So essentially, if I have to give it a line, it was a global campaign to get 500 of the world's most committed and intentional CEOs and their brands to put disability equally on the leadership agenda, on the business leadership agenda. You know, disability has always been on the sidelines. So what I was asking business to do was something that they really didn't want to do. And as I said, the death of my father, you know, pushed me to this place that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go for it. And the precursor to the Valuable 500 was an epic horse trip across Colombia from Cartagena to Bogota. It's a whole story. I met Paul Poman at One Young World. He was the CEO of Unilever. And he was the one I wanted to help me, because he was the godfather of sustainability. And I'm like, this man, you know, he's a dude. Number one, he's a leader with a heart, and he's brains, because let's be honest, you have to have equal measure, I think. You have to be soft, strong, you have to be head, heart. You know, I love this intersection between the extremes. I'm obsessed with that intersection. So when I eventually met Paul, when in itself is a story of magic, to your point, when you're doing the right thing, the universe does conspire. It does conspire to help you. And it may sound like a cliche, but it is true, because I have lived the magic of that many times in my life. And he was that magic, that moment. And then we fast tracked to 2019 in Davos. Everybody said that my idea, this Valuable 500, like, first of all, who did I think I was, holding up an accountability to 500 of the world's most influential CEOs? I mean, who did I think I was? And also that I wanted to do it from the main stage of the World Economic Forum in Davos. Like really, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, because it's what I need. It's what we need, and it's what I want. And so we did launch it in 2019 against all the naysayers, because that heart of mine just was like, it was raging, you know, it was a roar from the spirit. And so we had launched in 2019. And then this year, the year of 1847, I was going back to report on 250 companies had all, at that point, signed. 250. We had broken every record. We had done it with zip money. I had remortgaged the house. We'd had Virgin Media, okay, and we had Omnicom, but like, honestly, it was nothing. And I went back knowing we were 50% there. And the roar of the belly had silenced, because it was a quieter. It was like, they will come now, you know, because we had built it, they will come. Now, little did I know that COVID was going to happen. Mm. And when COVID did happen, everybody imagined Valuable 500 is not going to survive. Well, I'm sitting here today with 370 companies, and that represents 13 million employees, 5 trillion in revenue, 31 countries, 56 sectors. But before we even go to that, the most exciting part of it is there's going to be a phase 2. This ain't even a campaign. This is the world's biggest CEO collective after the UN Global Compact, which is 11,000 CEOs on any issue. And now we're moving that from campaign into a capability organization to radically transform our business system for inclusion. I mean, who knew? Who knew? Like, how on earth did this happen? And we have funders. I mean, I'm sitting here before we came on, and I was just looking at, you just sometimes look at this going, is this the real world, or am I in an Alice in Wonderland? And nobody can see me, but I'm sitting in front of a whole lot of flamingos right now. And I love my flamingo, you know. I think I can tell you how this happened. It was great, yeah, for sure. Timing,
Mm.
you know, that there's a timing issue. Um, but the most important thing that I could say has been success at Valuable 500 was owning my difference.
Mm.
And I think Dad's death stopped me questioning that. I think Dad's death made me take all of my difference and see it as magnificent
Mm.
and really wield it for what I want to deliver for the world. Because as much as I want to be free, I want everybody to be free. I want you to be free to be you. And I don't know, maybe I sound like an idealist, but I think it is possible. And if I didn't think it was possible, I wouldn't be doing what I do.
So powerful. I am just in awe of your humbleness and just authenticity that oozes from every cell in your body. You know, you can hear it in your voice, you can see it. And that to me is such beauty. That's what you're like, a moth to a flame. There's a flame, and people are gravitated to your flame. You're so bright. Your light is so bright that they've got this gravitational pull towards the work that you're doing because it's so selfless.
Well,
It's
because
really selfless because
it
it impacts so many people. Um,
because I felt it myself. Like I'm crying now, and I'm not even going to apologize for that because you unfortunately said something, or fortunately, after the crumbling of my first marriage, which was devastating for lots of reasons. And by the way, I was the one to leave, to have the courage to leave. You know what I was more scared about than anything? Not that I was bankrupt, not that of all of the things that happen when something like that fails. I was so worried my light was gone. I was so frightened that I had lost my light.
mm,
I was so frightened, not of anything else, but that my light was gone, that my spirit had died, and that I'd never see it again.
mm,
I'd never see it again. And the reason I'm crying is because, oh my gosh, you just remind me I'm here, and it's bright, and I see it again, and I live it every day. But I think that's what I so desperately want to have anybody know. Look, you can't avoid pain. You can't avoid shit. It's going to happen. But in a way, I just want to give you evidence that you do go through it. You will come out the other side. It is okay. But you can't be anybody else. The only way for you to live that freedom, that light and that freedom, is to go through the dark, to come out the other side authentically and fully yourself. And, self-acceptance, there is no full stop. I haven't got there. It will be for always and forever in the journey, but I'm so much better there than I was, because
mm.
I'm not trying to please you. I am truly not trying to make you like me, which for a recovering people pleaser is a really big thing to say, And even on these Zooms that we do, I've spent my life on stages since TED, and I found it so hard doing Zoom at the beginning. But you know what I've learned is because I'm not trying to please a crowd, I'm drawing from myself. I
Mm.
am truly going deeper. I truly turn up. Not that I don't ever think I was anything but myself, but this is deeper and this is real and this is more intimate. I'm looking at you. I mean, I can't see you, Monica, because you're too far away from me, but I oddly am having a more intimate conversation with you now than I would have, in a room or on a stage, because I am drawing from the energy of myself and listening to me, not
Mm.
listening to the energy in the room, which I relied upon a lot to do what you wanted, not what I felt.
Mm. Wow, so relatable. I these Zoom calls, I literally forget that they're going to be broadcasted
Yeah, I
to like
know.
a gazillion people, and I echo this thought. Like, this mutual exchange is you and I. The conversation, where it goes from here, like I'm so tunneled, like I'm so focused into this
Yeah.
exchange right now that I get lost in it as well. I forget it's being recorded.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, did I say the right thing? I don't even care. I just get so focused on it because it's so intimate. And you're right, you have a better, more intuitive conversation with somebody,
Mhm.
and this is the magic. So thank
Mhm.
you so much for such beautiful magic that you're sharing with me and, well, with the world now, just saying. The world that's listening going, oh my God, I love her. I love, love,
Oh God,
love.
she's crazy ass. Let's just dump her.
I want to hear more of her. And, so, I mean, I want to touch on a couple things here
Sure.
because I think that you and I have talked a lot about purpose and about the universe. And I really think it should be talked about more. People are very curious about it. You and I kind of have our own way of kind of that voice, right? And go. It's like the voice calls and you're like, I'm on it. I got it. Don't know what it is exactly here, but I'm out the door. Just tell me where I need to go. And so I would love for you to share with our listeners, what is that for you, those signs that leads you to the next, like, is it a feeling or is it like, how do you put it to words so that somebody trying to figure it out on their own right now can just go, oh, I get it, because I get that all the time, but I just haven't paid attention.
Well, it can come in different shapes for me. The first is like another big defining moment in my life is so after I was 17 and, I discovered I was legally blind, I hid it from everybody, because I had gone to 17 and didn't know. And so why would I then suddenly take on this label? And I hid it for 11 years. And I had an incredible career to that point. I had ventured, I traveled, I'd done lots of things, and I had ended up in Accenture as a management consultant. And I still hadn't told them. And so to your point about when did I know, ooh, it's coming, it crept up on me. It crept up on me and I started to be uncomfortable in my own skin, because when you're being somebody you are not, and if you're sensitive, which I am, um, and my anger, masked certain stuff for sure, but I was just not liking myself. It was like wearing a really itchy coat, like it was like wearing a Hessian bag across me. And I was like, oh, I don't like this. I was really uncomfortable on my own skin. And I couldn't wear that skin anymore. And the thing, when we get there to these points, a few things happen. One is we turn and blame everybody else around us, blame the people that love us, blame the environment, blame the job, blame everything. And that happens for a while. Or then if you are just incredibly lucky, you just go, oh shit, this is me. And, I was lucky. And I knew I had to. I came out of the closet with Accenture, with the HR person. And the HR person then sent me off to an eye doctor. And there's a whole big story about that. And people can check it out in TED. And it was that man, that eye doctor, who was my push, So I think he was kind of an angel. He was popped into me. So it's a desperate uncomfortableness. It's just like, ugh, yeah, I just can't stand this feeling of myself. It's really like a self. The second one for me is actually if I ever get really exhausted. So it's like burnout, but it's the burnout of the spirit, when there is just nothing there. That thing I talked to you about, the light going out. That's a sense of, oh, come on, no, this is not working. This is not just tiredness. There's something going on there. So I get burnout feeling. Another feeling that I get is simply magic, and simply serendipitous, juicy, gorgeous, firefly magic that when your eyes are open, you cannot help but it's just there, and you go, oh, just it takes your breath away, and you have to be open to it. That's where you just got to let yourself not worry about what people think, because it excites you. It takes you over. You can't even imagine it. It's like falling in love 1,000 times. It's just amazing. And so it can come in different shapes, these kind of inflection moments, or then it is the simple knowing of 1847. It's the calmness. And so the only way I think any of us can know these moments is to do our work, to be self-aware. And if I don't have any right to give anybody advice. But if I was asked, my advice is do your work. Be self-aware, self-discover, be curious. You don't have to have a traumatic childhood to have shit. Do your work. And that allows you to be open for the more magicals instead of the more horribles. That's what I'd say.
So that was pure magic. And I took a little pause there. My 4-legged dog had to go out, so I let her out. So thank you, Caroline.
There's that out again, out.
I let her out the door. And we had a little bit of a chat about, I was just oozing how I love diving into the area of spirituality and alignment and purpose, because it's all very connected, and how you feel when you're being elevated, doing the work that you're supposed to be doing. So I'd love to have you share a little bit about your practice and how important that is to you.
Well, it's, thank you for actually having this conversation, because a lot of people don't really want to talk about it, but so many of us live with it very privately, because it's not necessarily mainstream, and there's a lot of, perceptions about being too woo-woo and what. No. Look, I have a very strong, I identify very strongly. So with very low vision, I have high levels of intuition, and whoever they are, well, people would say I'm an intuitive, and I think that's very true. And I would even go to say is that I'm so lucky that when you don't see, I feel my way through things. I can see my way through things in a different way. But I was one of the very last people I know to come to meditation. Honestly, it's hilarious. I couldn't understand it, because my brain just will not stop. And I looked at yogi people and go, oh, I can't be doing yoga stuff because you're just all too amazing. And I don't have good balance, because if you're partially sighted, you just can't balance, right? So it used to intimidate me. But I had a very spiritual practice all of my own, which is really about feeling my way through people and seeing things and intuition. And I had this I will say, I do live in these amazing moments when I'm very tuned in. I mean, I can honestly say I'm actually getting goosebumps on the back of my neck, because I think about it. And I'm no different to anybody else. It just, I happen to be tuned into it and I'm open to it. There have been moments that if my eyes weren't open, I would have missed, and I wouldn't have been here. I mean, the man I'm married to now, it's one of those moments. And when I say married to him now, I will be married to him for the rest of my life. He's my, what they call an anamkara. It's an Irish word for soul friend. And I'm just desperately lucky to have been awake for that. But I don't know if I should admit it, but there are times when the work I do, I've never written a speech. I've never prepared anything. And when I have confidence, which I'm getting more of now as I go through it, I no longer do anything but come to a stage or come to an event and I say, okay, I open up, and I can honestly tell you the thing, I don't remember what I say. And so in the word, sometimes they call that channeling. I wouldn't say it's channeling, but there is something here. I do believe that I am allowing myself be so open to what I'm here to do, and get out of my own way. I choose to see the signs. I choose to let go now. I have to practice the art of letting go and stop attaching to ego, and stop. The ego makes me compare. It makes me feel jealous. It makes me feel inadequate. And that gets in the way of the work. I pick up white feathers because every white feather is my father. Every robin is a moment to be strong. Sometimes I see things I shouldn't be seeing because I simply can't see them. And I know they're like moments and signs. And I open myself to that magic. And because of that, I truly do live, I think, I actually live a gift of a life. And it is amazing. And the Valuable 500 and Valuable was born out of magic. It is fundamentally, the stories of this is just pure magic. And the greatest sadness for me is that when I turned my back on that intuition, that part of myself, when I closed it off because I had been so badly hurt or because of trauma, it's like I gave myself half the potential. Do you know what I mean? The thing that was there to save me is the thing I turned my back on. And it's when I made my greatest mistakes. When I didn't listen to my spirit, I listened to other people and I screwed up so badly. But when I listened to me, I never screw up for me. I never, ever screw up for me. So yeah, I'm a real big soul, a big-hearted soul. And I love that. And I'm learning the big-hearted soul of Caroline Casey. I mean, you can hear that in me. I'm much stronger. I'm much more grounded. If you were to compare this conversation to one I had 4 or 5 years ago, I sound different because it's all integrated into me. It's part of my medicine bag of tricks of life. And it's fun as well. It's joyful. I dance. I do a lot of 5 rhythm dancing. I do meditate. I run. I sea swim. I do energy work. I do cranial sacral. All bits and bobs. I've got this bag of tricks I use.
Well, I love it. And let me just say, in the green room, we did witness the dancing going on. I'm very moved by music too. It just drives me. And I can relate to so many things that you're saying. That's why I wanted you to share a little bit about that, because when you are truly on purpose and doing it, you're doing it so freeing that it's euphoric. I don't even know any other word for it, but euphoria. And, I'm drinking out of my Embrace Your Crazy mug, but you're crazy too. And people look and that haven't experienced that, and it looks like craziness. But when you have experienced it, you're just like, no, there's beauty, there's freedom, there's so many amazing things that come out of it. Because, like, I can share with you that honestly, I'm the last one to write anything down. I don't ever look at my notes. And I know what that feels like, because you're like, okay, just tell me what I need to say and I will say it. What is the message? I know everything. And the more rehearsed it is, the worse it comes out. So I don't do that. I haven't done that for a very long time. And you know how freeing that is to know that, like, I'm not the only one. Like, it's channeling. It's channeling to your actual calling. And I think it's absolutely a beautiful place to be at. It's relatable, it's authentic, and it's beautiful.
And everybody has that.
Everybody
Okay?
has that.
Yeah, no, and this is the thing, everybody has that potential. And actually, I know a little of your story. I think there are those of us who have really had to touch pain in a very, very deep way that maybe have access to that portal quicker than others. But you don't have to go through pain to access that. But I think when you've gone through deep trauma and come out the other side, have you ever spoken to people who've had near-death experiences? And when you listen to them, and I haven't at all, but when you listen to them, you kind of go, there's something feels kind of familiar about having recovered from stuff that you go, that feels the same, because it's like you can't unknow what you know now. You've known a depth to yourself, and it's something that's just is this whisper of yourself that we all have that we can now access. And it's just a gift. It really is. And you should protect it. and nurture it and take care of it and never take it for granted. And never ignore that little voice inside yourself, because that's like the only job we have right now on this planet, for every one of us to be accountable for ourselves, to be responsible for our lives. If we could do that, then what a collective we would be as a society, you know. Once again, probably sounding like a ridiculous idealist, but
I love it. I think, although I think that's so relatable to a lot of the listeners, and it's true. Everybody just had that gift inside, and that's why I thought it was really important to say, what is your magic all about? What does that feel like for you? And because I think that we can all, you know, I'm there, I got it, and I know when I'm not on. I can
oh yeah,
tell when I'm not on because it doesn't feel right. So I can relate to the itchy sweater because I'm like, I'm cranky, you know. I'm cranky when I'm not on, you know.
yeah.
So
And when you're not on, can I just say, go and hide under a duvet. I feel very strongly about having been somebody, and I guess Monica, you're the same. We drive ourselves very hard. One thing we all need to learn how is the power of the pause, which we've all seen on a global scale in this pandemic. That despite the horrific pain it has caused and the exposure of injustice and inequality, on the other side, that pause is actually creating as well, and it is fueling something new. And rest. We have to rest. We need a way to resource ourselves. And running at 90 miles an hour, trying to be perfect, which I have done, is not the way that any of us will get to what we need to go. We need to rest.
I know that every year about this time, I get this, and I always equate it to that pause for me. I didn't pause during COVID. Let's just say I went full on.
No,
It's
yeah,
like,
nobody paused really.
I have things to do. But I know that every year at about this time between Christmas and New Year's, for me, that's my pause. And if I get sort of down or upset, or it's because the universe is telling me, you need to rest, because boy, I've got something great for you this year and you're going to need all of your energy. So literally I embrace the funk that I'm in. I'm like, allow myself to be a little less, you know, pull the covers over my head, sleep. Like it's just, it almost kind of feels like a depression, but it's not, it's a funk.
But
And the
it's
universe is pulling you, going, no, I know you will go 500 miles an hour. So I'm going to put you someplace where you just need to rest, because you need to rejuvenate. And I don't know what it is, but the moment that I started realizing for myself that was it for me, I totally embrace it. And I'm like, surrender. And then I'm off and running again. But it's true. You need that time, whatever that is for you. It's different for everybody.
Well, can I say, I have October, and for the first time ever, I have owned up to that this year. It feels like a depression. Actually, a lot of the defining moments in my life have happened in October, a lot. And I do get down, and I'd say even maybe more than down. And this time I've owned it. But there's actually a seasonal thing here too. It's called hibernation. And do you know what we're supposed to do in hibernation? Hibernate, which means we're not supposed to be dialing up, we're supposed to be dialing down. And I think there is something in the moons, in the energy, in the seasons. This is the season for us to start to slow, to rebuild, to resource. And we go against this because we're at a dissonance to the natural rhythm of life, because we're living in these cities and we're so away from the rhythm of nature, because actually we're supposed to go down. And the second one that I've become very aware is menopause, because I am right in menopause. Listen to menopause. See that word? Pause. So we were not designed to go, let's dial ourselves up at whatever year you are in. I'm 49. And, you know, it's like I'm working harder, faster, more. But that's our pause. You see that word pause? Because, you know, I don't know if anybody's listening to this, but the symptoms of menopause, if you experience the symptoms of menopause, and I do, it is damn hard. And what's so damn hard is not everybody experiences the same symptoms. So you kind of feel like, am I actually losing my mind? Am I crazy? You know, But the reason that pause exists, it's because we're supposed to nestle down, to nest, to reemerge, just as we are in spring, to reemerge. And we don't listen to the cycles anymore. It's really hard.
Well, as we're both celebrating 50 next year, so I understand that more than you can imagine, but I'm also very excited about the age of that in how much stronger and more confident I feel.
Yeah, preach. Definitely.
I can't even put into words, like 50? What? No, I don't want to be 35 anymore.
No
I'm
way.
really happy to be where I am right now and to be the person that I am today.
Totally get that.
Right?
I mean, I could honestly tell you, loving age and stage.
Yeah.
Loving it. You could not give me billions to put me back into my 20s, because the fabric of who I am now turned up as, oh my God, I just like myself so much more. I'm so much easier in my skin. And that is age and stage. And I cannot wait I think honestly, our 50s are going to be phenomenal. I'm loving this stage now. And so let it continue.
Absolutely. Well, I am looking forward to the journey ahead. We're just at the end of our wrap up. I could talk to you all day long, Carolyn.
Same.
And I hope that we'll have an opportunity to do more. I know that I want to entice you to come and be a part of our 2021 roadshow, which is
I'll be there once we can get these big travel bans lifted.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, we're talking big, big movement. So super excited about that. And we're going to keep connected, but it wouldn't be the Woman of Inspiration podcast, by the way, without saying that you are by far one of the people that I love and respect, and think that you're a woman of inspiration in my world that I look up to. But who is one of those women of inspiration in your world? I know that I'm catching you off guard here, but if I can say who.
My mom. My mom is, I don't even have to think about that for a millisecond. I find it very hard to pick a favorite anything, a favorite book, a favorite song. But if you have to talk about the woman that I look to, that I truly stand back in awe of, is my mom. You know, she is 33 years now, a recovered alcoholic. I got my grit from her. We had a difficult relationship as I was growing up, and actually for a long time, for lots of reasons. And she is my pal now. My God, she is beautiful. What my mom taught me is the power of living with the beauty of your light and dark, your good stuff and your bad stuff, your flaws and your magnificence. She's the woman that taught me the spark of always making something shit look good. And even if that was when we had no money as a family, how to make a table look good. Truly, you know, she'd put a candle on the table and somehow all the other stuff it made it seem better. She's the person when we didn't have enough, money to have things that other people would have, she would just throw a scarf around her neck and go. She'd have a way of doing it. But it's her soul, it's her spirit, that spirit of a different generation of women, who I really believe if Mum had been in a different time, in a different place, she's a legend. She is a wonderful human being. And I am very proud to be her daughter.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I hope, Mom, if you're listening, that you get an opportunity to soak that sunshine in, because it is really, truly great. And, I hope she knows what a beacon of light you are for, the world. I think sometimes the people that are in our closest circles, they see you every day, but they don't see all the great ripple effects that you're doing. So I hope she's very proud of that. And it's been super great having you on the Woman of Inspiration podcast. I am holding you to coming to Calgary. to Canada with those cowboy boots, just
Oh,
saying.
I will. The thing is, which cowboy boots? Because I love my cowboy
Bring
boots.
them all.
Oh,
Bring
Queen,
them
I love my cowboy boots. I
all.
love
Bring
them.
an extra suitcase, girl. That's okay. That's how we roll. We'll be able to, we'll find a place and an opportunity for each pair. Trust me.
Okay, thank you.
And so everyone, that was the Women of Inspiration podcast. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with Dr. Carolyn Casey, who is the founder of the Valuable 500. Your stories are so amazing. Caroline, how would people get a hold of you if they wanted to learn more about how to participate with the Valuable 500 and learn the great work that you're doing, and also kind of keep updated on this new venture that you are heading into for 2021?
Well, so there's 2 or 3 Caroline Cases, I believe, on social media. I'm dreadful on social media, but I'm not the amazing astrologer. You can get me on Instagram, Caroline Casey here. You can get me on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't do Facebook, but everything to do with the Valuable 500, it's at Valuable 500 or thevaluable500.com. And, you know, there's not many Caroline Caseys who are albino women who went across India on an elephant. You'll find me. And I'm really happy to talk to anybody and share any story. And I hope this conversation might have touched anybody out there who might be just struggling just that bit. You'll get there. We all do.
Peace and magic, my friend. Great conversation as always. And I'm looking forward to the adventure ahead. There is a reason that you and I have connected, and it has to do with a bigger purpose. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And that was Women of Inspiration podcast. My name is Monica Kretschmer, and I look forward to welcoming you to the next episode. And please share this episode with all of your friends. Just share it proudly, listen to it over. There's so many nuggets that you'll want to listen to it over and over again. And by all means, please reach out to Carolyn and find out more about the Valuable 500. Thank you so much.